Can you hear okay?
I presume so.
Hi, this is Marquita Bradshaw, candidate for United States Senate, the Democratic nominee here in the great state of Tennessee. I am here. Would you mind introducing yourself?
Certainly. My name is Ann League. I am with SOCM, which is Statewide Organizing for Community Empowerment, community organizing group here in Tennessee.
Today you are here as an individual talking to me about some of the environmental justice issues that you have seen across the state when it comes to mountaintop removal. And I have some questions. I'm ready.
All righty.
All right. And so, can you describe the process of mountaintop removal in the simplest terms and what kind of impacts it has on water, soil, and air?
Mountaintop removal in the simplest terms, back in the old days when people thought of coal mining, they thought about digging into the mountain to get the coal. Mountaintop removal is taking the mountain away to get to the coal. They actually blow up the tops of the mountains to get to the seams of coal. The impacts upon the environment and the communities that are surrounded by mountaintop removal are huge and many. One of the biggest impacts is to water quality, because most of the streams start in the mountains. They start as little trickles and springs. So when you blow up the top of a mountain, you destroy those springs and the starts and the headwaters of all the springs and streams and rivers here in Appalachia. There's also a lot of dust that's involved when you use the high explosives. So people who live near mountaintop removal sites and the workers who work on the mountaintop removal sites are exposed to a lot of minuscule particles that get into their lungs, and in some cases it comes out with a lot of black lung. There's something called rock lung. If the coal is in a lot of silica-based strata, when you blow up that silica and then inhale it, and the moisture in your lungs actually turns that into concrete. So there are people who are living in mountaintop removal communities, or the workers on the sites have something called rock lung. There are people who live next to sites that have their houses actually blown off the foundations because of the impact from the high explosives that are used on sites. You find mountaintop removal sites, and coal mining sites in particular, usually are in rural, low-income areas where people are fairly remote, and they don't have a lot of people who are standing up for themselves. They look at this as something that they just have to get used to and live with, and that's something that I didn't believe in, because I started with this. A mountaintop removal site went in next to my home, and 3 months after the mining started, my well water turned bright orange. And in Tennessee, bright orange is a good color, but not when it's your water.
It's certainly not a good look for water at all.
No, it's not good when you wake up and your pillowcase is orange from your hair.
Oh, wow. So, what does a just transition look like for communities like this?
A just transition is moving away from an extractive industry and bringing in, or giving the people the means and the tools to have a sustainable income. A lot of these areas are remote, so you can't expect a factory or a big development to come in. So a lot of it is training. It's teaching these people how to pivot to something else. A lot of the jobs that are on mountaintop removal sites are jobs that can be moved and are applicable to something else, because they're truck driving jobs, they're electrician jobs, they're carpentry jobs. So giving the folks who live on there something else to work on, because they have the skills, they have the will to work. This is something that they're generations of mountain people that they pride themselves in being able to work and wanting to work. Just giving them the opportunities to use those skills on something that's not blowing up their backyard.
So this is about having jobs that they don't have to sacrifice their communities in order to be able to make a living. And also, I hear educational opportunities. I hear access to medical care that actually specialize in environmental induced diseases, like you talked to about the respiratory illnesses that people hear. And I also hear you say just the need for more education. And you mentioned that some people might need to be moved away.
No.
Okay, so I just want to
No.
make sure some people are not
No,
looking
they-
for relocation. They want to stay in place and they want their communities to
Correct.
be remediated to the point where they're safely.
They want to have their communities to have all the opportunities that other communities, that urban communities have. You talked about health care. Rural hospitals in Tennessee are closing. It seems like every week there's a rural hospital closing. It's not just environmental health, it's depression and mental health with folks who are seeing that the jobs are going away and nothing coming in. So it's actually getting them the funding to help change these communities. One of the things that was put into place to help mitigate some of the mining is called the Abandoned Mine Lands Fund, which there are about $2.5 billion in this fund, which should be coming back to mining communities to help fix those communities, fix the lands. The Office of Surface Mining Reclamation and Enforcement takes a very laser view of what the Abandoned Mine Lands Fund can be used for. If they broaden that view and it would be able to be used for education and economic stability instead of just fixing the land itself, I think that would go a long way to helping these communities. There's a federal bill right now called the Reclaim Act, which would help bring some opportunities into these rural mining communities that just passed the House actually in July, and we're hoping that we'll have some success in the Senate coming up eventually.
Well, we have to make sure that people elect the right people
Absolutely.
up and down the ballot. Not a shameless plug, but that's the importance of making sure that working people have representation. And thank you so much. My name is Marquita Bradshaw, and I'm the Democratic nominee for United States Senate.